All right, I'm here with Coach Joe Bushman of Lewis and Clark. Lewis and Clark, how are you doing today, Coach?
Good job, Bree. How are you?
Doing well. So let's just start from the beginning, right? 1988, Oregon State. Where were you?
I was at good old Benson Tech,
Yeah,
playing football for the Techmen and basketball and baseball. Those were the good old days. You could play three sports.
yeah.
Right.
And you
Yeah,
were playing in
that was a great year.
the state championship, right?
Yep. I was really fortunate to be part of that team, and I think it was the last PIL team to win a state championship. Um, Benson, unfortunately, has fallen on hard times. They haven't even really had a football team the last couple of years, which is amazing to me because back at that time, we were rocking and rolling. We'd been to the semifinals a couple times, had been to the quarters, and finally broke through in 1988. I don't know if it was the most talented team that went through there, but boy, it was a really competitive bunch of guys with the chip on their shoulders, really led by our defense. I mean, we had a good offense too. We were pretty explosive, but boy, I'll tell you those are some great memories. Just have a lot of pride in that team and what we were able to accomplish.
That's great. And so after you leave Benson, where do you head to?
I actually came up here to Lewis and Clark and played football for a couple years. Was a starter my sophomore year. Things didn't work out, and so I ended up leaving and ended up at Willamette. Ended up not being a quarterback in college. Ended up getting moved to like a slot receiver and a kick returner and a punt returner, and got to actually play like some real football, which I think was good for coaching. And then when I was done, I was blessed to get to work with Dan Hawkins and Bob Gregory, both really young coaches who got their start at Willamette. I was able to be on their staff as a graduate assistant and learn a ton from them when I was getting my master's degree.
Let's not understate it. You were pretty good at Willamette, right? And then we have a team captain in 93, academic All-American. You were certainly getting some recognition. What was it like playing over there I believe you were all conference? What was that like?
It was good. It was a little bit of I hadn't played, like physical type of football since I was in, middle school. I was an inside linebacker, and I loved to block and loved to tackle. But when I got to Benson, the coaches, I actually thought my best position was free safety, but I broke my arm my freshman year, and so they never let me play defense again. So I was kind of stuck as a quarterback, and so for a long time, that's all I did. But at Willamette those last 2 years, I really got to kind of reacquaint myself with the game at its pure sense, blocking and tackling and just being physical. So I really like that. It helped me kind of understand the game from a lot of different positions, especially on the offensive side. And we struggled during those times. We didn't have the best record, but still had a really good experience with a great group of guys and got a great education there.
And so after being a GA, somewhere along the line, you end up coaching high school football for about 20 seasons between Clackamas, Lake Ridge, Central Catholic. In what order did that go? Because I know Clackamas was the last stop.
Yeah, no, I probably should have, if I was smarter, I probably would have stayed with Hawkins and Gregory and continued to pursue college football. But I kind of got in a hurry to make money. And so I took a teaching job at David Douglas. I don't regret it because it led me to my wife, and things have turned out pretty good for me. I feel very blessed. But I started coaching at David Douglas, and I was an assistant there for 3 years. With Dan Wood. And after 3 years' time, I went out to Glencoe, and I spent a year with Coach Rooker out there, who's still a good friend of mine. In fact, I just met with him last week on some I formation stuff, which was pretty cool. And then I got my first head coaching job at Central Catholic, and I coached there. I was pretty young. I think I was 26 years old. And I coached there for 5 years. We had a really nice run there. Great group of kids, great community. and I left there and I went to Lake Ridge for a couple years. Again, had a great time there. Had some good success. Ended up winning the league championship. My first year, had a big win against LO, which I'll never forget. Lake Ridge hadn't beat LO for a long time, and we were able to beat him. So that was great. The community, both those communities, the Central Catholic community and the Lake Ridge community, were just great to me and my young family. And then after that, we moved to Clackamas and spent the 12 years there. And boy, it was a ride. I mean, when I came in, Coach Baker had done a great job of building the program up, and I proceeded to have some rough years along the way. We kind of dipped and hit rock bottom for a while. I'd never really had losing seasons, and we had a couple of tough losing seasons, but we dug ourselves out and rededicated ourselves to some things, which I can talk about if you'd like to hear. But ended up our last 7 years, I think we maybe had the best record of any team in the state for a 7-year period, and we won that state championship in 2017, which was very rewarding because it was with a group of Clackamas kids that I'd coached since we moved in the area, since they were 3rd, 4th graders. So I take a lot of pride in that because, we didn't have a bunch of transfers. We were really a homegrown team, which was really cool. And plus my son was on it. So that was fun.
Tell us a little bit about building that program. I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, we really dived into our youth program. We were losing kids at the private schools, so we started to just really recruit our own players and make it a great experience for them, all the way from, we started a flag football league, really from 1st grade all the way through 12th grade. And we took a lot of pride in being a Cavalier. And so we started keeping all of our kids at home. We really dedicated ourselves to our strength training program. We developed a theme that we have here now at Lewis and Clark. It's called Pound the Rock. And it's just, I'll tell you the story. It's about a stone cutter, and he's got this big sledgehammer, and he's got this huge rock, and he's hitting it over and over again, and it won't break. And he's frustrated, but he keeps pounding. And then finally on the 100th pound, the thing shatters. And what's cool about it is he knows it wasn't just that last pound that did it. It was all the subsequent pounds along the way. So it's just a metaphor for process and, not getting frustrated when things don't happen overnight, and to just keep working, just keep pounding away and have that blue collar work ethic. So we really dug into our weight program. And then the other thing we did is we started a leadership council. Then we started to develop leaders within our program, which I think was key. Plus we had a run of really good kids. I mean, you don't win without good kids, and talented kids who were hungry to prove themselves. And then I had just a fantastic coaching staff that really jived well together. I think one of the things I did well at Clackamas, and I'm trying to do at Lewis and Clark, is just hire good people and then provide them with the resources they need to go do their thing and trust them. So that's one thing. I did an interview the other day, and somebody asked me, what would I tell a young coach, and one of the things I would have told myself way back in the day is, hire good people and, find out what they do well and put them in those positions, and then just make their job easy. That's part of the head coach, is to make your coordinators, your offensive line coach, the high school level, your freshman coach, just give them all the resources to fly, so that's something I've tried to do a better job of later in my career.
That's great. So you were named Coach of the Year, sixth Coach of the Year in 2017 following the championship win. I know a lot of people don't like to talk about personal accolades, and they give the answer of it was a team effort to get there, which it is. But how did it feel personally to get that award?
It felt really good to me. And I really believe that, that it was a team thing, and a reflection of our staff. But for me personally, when we had those down years, 2010, 2011, out at Clackamas, people were calling for my head. And, I really had to dig deep into my faith, and my family was really supportive. It's tough when your kids are in the community schools, and, people are talking about fire your dad. There's some low moments, but, kind of hung in there and battled through it with the help of the guy upstairs. And so to, 6 years later, be hosting a trophy, that was personally really gratifying for me. I guess I could prove it to myself that I could be down and dig myself up and do some good things.
Well, and that goes into the saying, right? Pound the rock. We're going to make sure that you're going to keep getting there. Even when it is tough, it's all the subsequent stuff that led to it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, anybody, we tell our kids all the time, I mean, anybody can be good when everything's kind of falling your way. But, the test of a person is how do you handle adversity? How do you react to it? And so I guess I was happy, I guess somewhat proud, that we were able to overcome those down days and come out on top.
And so 2017, you get that. Your son, I believe, graduates as well, right? And he heads over to Lewis and Clark. And at the same time, you become the offensive coordinator and the recruiting coordinator, just like that. What was that hiring process like? And did they tab you, or did you see an opening and went for them?
Yeah, well, actually, I had one more year in high school, 2018, and we had a good team. Felt like we could have won another state championship, but we fell a little bit short, ended up losing in the semifinals. And my son was a senior, and I knew he was graduating. I knew at some point when my kids were done with high school and I was done seeing them every day in the building, that I did want to jump back into the college level and give it a go. So I felt like the timing was right. Me and Jay Losi had developed a strong friendship, a very similar coaching philosophy. And so he called me, and at that point, Isaac Parker had left and went to Willamette to be the head coach. And he had an opening on his staff and asked me if I'd come over. He told me that he had a few years left, that he wanted to be the head coach. And what he would like to have happen is for me to come and shadow him and learn from him, and then hopefully take over if everything went according to plan. And it did, so I was able to be an assistant for Jay for 2 years. Fantastic man. Learned a ton from him. And just feel it was good for me to kind of take a step back and to be a good servant for the head coach. It was a good reminder of what a good assistant coach should look like. Not that I was always a good assistant, but I did try to work hard for Jay and help him build on the good things he had already done, so and he's a great man. He won a national championship at Linfield and was the assistant head coach at Oregon State for a lot of years. And so just to get to work with a guy like that, and not just from an X and O standpoint, but also just the way he treats people and he listens and he cares. It just helped me grow even more in some of those areas.
That's great. Yeah, I got a chance to speak to Coach Joseph Smith over at Linfield a little bit ago, and he was talking about Jay Losi and all the great things he did over there too. So that's good to know that he's been around and helping everyone out.
For sure.
So when you got the head coaching job, what was one of the first things you did when you said, "Oh, I'm the head guy in charge"? What was the first noticeable change that you made?
I think the first thing we did is we brought the Pound the Rock. We didn't have that, with Jay, but we brought that to the program. Dedicated ourselves to blue collar work ethic in the weight room. Brought in a leadership council, again, a lot of the same recipe for success we had at Clackamas, and then really dove into recruiting. I felt like if we were ever going to be able to compete with the better teams, that we needed to have higher numbers and higher quality. And so we were hovering right, kind of in that, right around in the 60s as far as a total number in the program. And so we got really thin at times during seasons. We'd get beat up, and we just needed more depth. So first year we dove in. We recruited 32 freshmen my first year. which got our numbers to 77. And then last year we landed a big class. We landed 45 incoming players and started the season at 99. I think that was one of the reasons we were able to have one of our better seasons in a long time last year. And this year we're hitting it hard again. And I think we'll grow to right around 110, which is, to me, that's kind of the sweet spot. We don't want to get much bigger because I think that number gives us the depth that we need, the quality on the field, but it also keeps us, if we get to 130, 140 guys, then I think we lose some of the intimacy and those close relationships that we have with our players right now. So I think we're right about where we want to be going into next year.
And I think you've done an amazing job. I mean, that you talked about the 45 players you brought in last year. It's the largest incoming class in program history. You look at kind of what you've done your 2 years at the helm. Well, you've had winning seasons. And so those two things are, I guess, first year was 4-5, but it was also the best record a first-year coach at Lewis and Clark has ever had. This last year, you get a winning season. I believe it was the second winning season since 1991. So you're building things the right way. And with that comes all the improvements that you said. So now comes the recruiting aspect of everything. What are you looking for in a recruit? Another way to put it is, what's a non-negotiable for you? If you're coming to Lewis and Clark, you're going to do this.
Yeah, well, great question. To me, we want very high character kids. We want leaders who have been leaders in their programs. We want kids who want to compete and love football and love the process, So those are the things that we really look for. Obviously, we still look for talent. Lewis and Clark is unique in that our GPA standard is so high. It's a harder place to recruit to just because we don't have as big a pool of kids to pull from. I mean, we're looking for 3 and above kids. A lot of our competitors can get in kids to their school that we can't, so we have to work a little bit harder. We have to go after a smaller pool of kids, but they're kids there. We just got to go find them. And one thing we've done, I believe, a good job of is, we still recruit the Portland area, but we've really had a lot of success in the Sacramento Bay Area. That's been a hotbed for us. We're now getting kids from Phoenix. I believe we're going to do much better in Hawaii now. So we really are a West Coast school. If you look at the rosters of a lot of our competitors, they're primarily, Oregon, Washington kids, whereas we really are spread out up and down the West Coast, which is pretty cool because you get to meet kids from all around, So I think that's been a good thing.
That's amazing. No, I think recruiting everywhere around helps you bring in some of the best talent that you need. And so going over to the wagon wheel rivalry, where did the name come from?
Jay explained that to me about 4 years ago. I've forgotten some of it. It had something to do with the wagon wheel being brought over with Lewis and Clark and the Pioneers. I'm not quite sure how Willamette got involved, but I just know there's a traveling trophy, right? And I know that we bring it to the game, and whoever wins the game gets to take it. And it means a lot to our alumni. Willamette had a big, long streak of wins in a row. And then Jay, I think it was his third year, he was able to finally win the wagon wheel game, won it for a year or two. And then I came on, we were able to win it for 2 more years when I was the assistant. And then we've won it the last 2 years. So we've won it 6 years in a row, which is the longest streak for Lewis and Clark. So we like having it. We're going to do everything we can to keep it. It's really important. I'm not going to lie. It's circled, on the schedule every year.
That's good. So you have a thing called the inaugural Northwest Scholar Series game. And from my understanding, that means at the very beginning of the year, you play Puget Sound, but it doesn't count towards the Northwest Conference games. Can you kind of explain how that started up and the agreement there?
Yeah, no, what happened basically was, the SIAC has lost some teams. And so we were short games. And, us and Puget Sound are very similar as far as demographics go, size of school, both very high academic schools like Willamette. Our three schools tend to be the highest academic schools. And so we just got into a agreement with them that we were going to play them first game for 4 years. And it's been fun. It's been good. We were able to win it the first year. Last year, they did a great job. They beat us in that first game. So we're 1-1 in this series, and it's a good way to start the year. I know at some point, hopefully we can, in 2 years. I think we're working on some things with the SIAC down in Southern California, with some of the Texas schools. At some point, we hope to get to the point where we don't have to double up games. But for now, it's a nice way to start the year against a quality opponent. I think Jeff does a great job up there at Puget Sound, and so yeah, it's been good.
So I got to go back a little bit. Your offense, from the sounds of it, you guys like to air and throw the ball around a little bit. But earlier you mentioned that you were meeting about some I formation. Are we switching it up a little bit this year, going a little more ground and pound?
No, Javi, we're really balanced. We're mostly 10 and 11 personnel. I want to say last year we were almost on the dot, 50% run, 50% pass. We've hired a offensive coordinator, Mike Machado, to take over for me. We still work very closely in the design of the offense, but he's taken some of the good things we were doing and really taken it to the next level. So we've been happy with our offensive production the last few years. The I formation, that is what we term our hippo package, and that's what we like to get into in short yardage and goal line situations. And so Coach Rooker, that was basically his base offense back in the day. So I'm really a believer that if you want to be good at something, go learn from the best. So we brought him in last Tuesday, and he's actually coming in next Tuesday as well, and just kind of doing a mini clinic on some different things. We're showing him some looks that we're getting during the season, and basically asking him how he would go about attacking them. So it's been really good conversation.
Love it. The hippo package. That's freaking amazing. All right. Well, I know you got to go soon, but I got 5 questions that I like to ask everybody at the end. You got time for this?
Oh, you bet.
All right. So our 5 questions. So number 1, you're at a gas station. You're about to go on a nice long road trip. What's your go-to snack and your go-to drink?
Well, my go-to snack, boy, that's good. That's a good. I'm a big coffee guy. I'm not very much an elitist or a snob when it comes to food or drink, unless we're talking about coffee. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to go to Pete's Coffee, which is my favorite coffee joint. And I'm going to just get a dark roast with cream. And if I'm going to snack on something, I'm probably going to get a scone. I'm going to go scone and a coffee. How northwest is that, man?
I mean, that's pretty northwest. Now, if you would have said Starbucks, would have really taken it over the top. So we're good.
Oh, I'm down on Starbucks. I got enough business.
And one around every corner, especially in the Northwest. Who's your favorite athlete of all time?
I really liked. Boy, that's a great question. I like Magic Johnson. Yeah, I grew up a Laker fan in the 80s. AC Green was a Benson Techman, went to Oregon State, ended up playing during the Showtime Lakers era. My baseball team, my senior year of high school, we got to go down and play down in Southern California. And part of the experience is we got to go to the Fabulous Forum. And then we got to go behind the scenes and meet all the players in the locker room. And I remember meeting Magic Johnson and shaking his hand. And boy, talk about that big personality you see. It was legit. That's how I remember him. And I always liked him because I felt like he made people around him better. and he did anything that he needed to do. He was always more about giving than necessarily scoring. You know, he's the assist leader and all that. So I just always admired him and just thought he was a winner.
That's great. So what's your favorite time of the year? Now, as a football coach, I know it's fall, right? We all love fall. We all love football. But let's go to the other side. What's your favorite time of the year, not including that?
Well, I do love Halloween.
Okay.
I'm Lewis and Clark now, so I'm orange and black. So that just builds on the Halloween. But I'm kind of a scary movie guy. I love Halloween night. You know, I don't get to celebrate it like I'd really like to, but there's just something about that holiday that always jazzes me up with the scary movies and the trick or treating. And I loved all that when my kids were little. So that's a really fun time for me. Plus it's football season. But I also really like Christmas. Things always slow down a little bit. You know, you get a week or two off with your family. I'm a big family guy. I've been married to my wife for 27 years. She's my best friend. We have 2 great kids, great parents. So just getting to spend the holidays with them, with family and friends is really a special time for me.
It's great. You mentioned horror movies. What's your favorite horror movie or horror movie series?
I like all the oldies. I really like Psycho. I like Hannibal Lecter, Silence of the Lambs. I still like, you know, Friday the 13th and Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street. I like all those.
Kind of big Halloween guy.
Yeah, those are good ones for me.
All right. What's your favorite sports team at the high school, college, and pro level? But you can't pick anywhere you've coached, anywhere you've played at, or anywhere your kids have gone.
Okay, well, pro, it's the Las Vegas Raiders. It's hard to say Las Vegas. I like
I'm a
saying,
diehard.
are you? Hey,
God, if you saw the other side of my room is black and silver and black, but
love it. I love it. Yeah, I was born in Oakland. During my childhood, the Oakland Raiders were really good, and I loved the brand of football they played, hard-nosed, physical defense, throw the ball down the field, late 70s, early 80s. So I'm a Raider fan through and through. College-wise, oh boy, that's a great question. I guess I like the Oregon State Beavers. I like their coaching staff over the years. They've been really good to us. And every coach from, you know, Jonathan Smith to Mike Riley, those guys have just been really good character guys, seem to really value the in-state coaches. And I kind of like that they're always a little bit the underdogs. I like that, you know, so I've always rooted for those guys. And then high school wise, boy, I don't know. I'm going to have to come back to you on that, Jobby. I've been so loyal to wherever I've been. I've never really rooted for anybody else. So
no, that's fair. But I do like what you said about Oregon State. I think we got some common stuff here because I'm actually a huge Coug fan. But when I'm not rooting for the Cougs, I'm rooting for Oregon State. They're kind of the second team right there. So I like that. It's good.
yes.
All right. Last question. Are you a fan of country music? Do you listen to it at all?
You know, I don't, Jobby. That's the one genre I do not like. I've tried. My son loves it. My wife loves it. You talked about those road trips. What would I grab for a snack? Well, unfortunately, my wife would then try to turn on the country music. I don't know. I just don't I don't get it. It's too slow for me. I've tried. A lot of my friends are into it. It's not me. I'm sorry. Is that the one thing we differ on?
No, I like all types of music. If you listen to my shuffle on a car road trip, you'll be like, dude, what the hell are you into? Like, you're into everything.
Yeah.
But the point of it is, there's a guy called Luke Combs, right? He has a song called Doing This. And his opening line says, someone asked me once in an interview, what was growing up like? Where'd you go to school? And what would you do if you weren't doing this? So my question to you is, if you weren't a head coach over at Lewis and Clark, what would you be doing right now?
Great question. I was a biology major in college. I was pre-med track. Then I started falling in love with coaching and teaching. And so part of me wishes sometimes that I would have stayed and went to medical school and been a doctor. I know my wife probably wishes I would have done that. We'd be in a better financial position. But so probably doctor. But, the other thing I really like, this is crazy. I'd probably be a bartender.
Okay.
I love just the scene. I love mixing drinks. I like talking to people. I think that's fun. We did some fundraisers at Clackamas where I got to be a bartender for a night. And I just remember having a blast. I'm just kind of a social butterfly. So I just like that scene. And then plus, at the bar, people tend to be in good moods, for the most part. But
That's true.
yeah, so I think it'd probably be one of those two.
So what's your favorite drink then?
I'm on an old fashioned kick right now. Yes,
All right.
I like a good old fashioned, but better keep it to one or two. Those things will sneak up on you.
They will. You got to be careful with those. All right. If people want to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
My email at Lewis and Clark is bushmanj@lclark.edu. We have high school coaches come up all the time and spend time with our coaching staff. We're very open to that, and anytime a coach wants to reach out and, talk about really anything, I'm available. I just want to help people. And yeah, so there you go.
All righty.